Midderon was the son of Arcanists. He had lived his entire life in a cavern underground, hiding. At 10 years old, he had never seen the sky or an Urgoth or any beast but men. The world was utterly unknown to him, except for tales of horror and woe. But among the stories warning children to hide and obey their parents, Midderon heard one other, a whispered tale of a rebellion against the Urgoth, and a legion rising to set all people free. So, at just 10 years old, Midderon left the safety of the Arcanists to find the Legion of Dawn.
A small child with no knowledge of the world goes out by himself. That's a recipe for disaster.
You know that, and I know that. Midderon didn't know that. Raised to be a scholar, he knew how to read the secret signs of the Arcanists. He followed them through the wilds to the Legion of Dawn. Or he tried to, anyway. The Chimera had a different plan.
Right, I'm sure this story doesn't start with a child killed by a chimera.
That would be a much shorter story than this one. He'd never seen a chimera. He'd never even seen a grabbit, but he was a very good student. He learned all the warning signs that he was being hunted, and remembered stories about laying false trails. He led the chimera on a long and winding path through the rocks, back and forth. He could never shake the creature, but it could never find him. Then, the other hunters came. General Tarsis, in the first Javelin ever made. Testing her new armor, she found the chimera stalking the boy.
Lucky for Midderon.
No luck about it. Tarsis followed his trail, just as the chimera did. She was just learning the Javelin. No one knew what it could do, not even the man who made it. Not trusting her suit's strength in a fight with the chimera, she lured it into chasing her instead. While it ran after Tarsis, Leotrel found the boy and spirited him away to safety.
I don't know if I'm disappointed or relieved that no one actually fought the chimera in this story.
Well, the path of valor is a tricky one. It's not always about victory in battle. You know that. They took him to their own camp, where the Legion hid at the time. When Tarsis asked where he lived and who his people were, Midderon replied, "You're my people." The others tried to persuade him to return home, but after a long moment, Tarsis said, "He is home." From then on, Midderon served as a page to the Legion of Dawn. Eventually, he became a Legionnaire himself. But that's another story. You've walked the path of valor. By now, I suppose that's not really a surprise. It's time to tell you how the Freelancers began. Midderon was raised by the Legion of Dawn. He witnessed Tarsis testing the first Javelin. He was at the General's side when the fortress was built, earned his own Javelin, and fought beside her. Even at the Battle of Anthem Pass. Of the company that stood with Tarsis and held back the Urgoth, only Midderon survived.
Who else was there? The tales always make it sound like Tarsis fought alone.
You already know the others. Evenia, Atinia, Ganes, and Kerif. The Guardians, legends call them. I heard you found all their tombs.
I did, but nobody told me they all died at Anthem Pass.
In grief, the Legion tore itself in two. Half went with Magnustral, half with Arden Vasa, and one Legionnaire, who went with no one. Midderon stayed at the Fortress of Dawn, even though the gates were sealed and the Lancers gone for good.
You said this story was about Freelancers. None of us were at the Fortress of Dawn.
Of course not. It was locked up tight. Alone in the courtyard, Midderon heard a distant roar.
Okay, that's better.
It was a sound he remembered, for it haunted his dreams. The roar of the chimera Cindermore, the monster that stalked him long ago.
The same one? Was still alive?
It vanished for more than a decade, but with the General's death, it returned.
Taking on a chimera without backup? Bad idea.
And Midderon knew it. Alone, he stood no chance. But the city of Anshar lay helpless in its path. He had no choice. He found the Chimera's trail and followed it, not to the monster, but to its lair. For he knew that if he silenced the relic that created it, Cindermore would lose its power.
That's a much better idea, but it doesn't make for a very heroic tale.
Well, it might end up both. Midderon found the relic, though the monster was right beside it. But he had plenty of experience in laying false trails. Midderon woke the Chimera, and it chased his false tracks while he slipped past and silenced the relic. Cindermore fell, and the Lancer finally defeated the beast that stalked him long ago. In that moment, Midderon knew his calling, to walk the path of valor, even if he walked it alone.